President Trump announced the framework of another trade deal today. The president said exports from the Philippines will have a 19% tariff attached. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says negotiations with China will likely need more time to make a trade deal. For tonight's interview, we're joined by economist and adjunct scholar at the Cato Institute, Kyle Handley. Kyle, thanks for being with us. Thanks
for having me.
Put the Philippines deal in perspective. It's hard to know what's a deal, what's a framework, what's big, what's small. How should we think about it?
So it's definitely a small deal. The Philippines is less than 0.5% of all U.S. imports from the rest of the world. So the big countries that we don't have a deal with yet are basically Canada, Mexico, China, the European Union. And so this is a pretty small deal with a small country. The United States seems to be able to push around some of these Southeast Asian countries and get them to accept Donald Trump's terms. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
In the early days, when the president first started instituting some of these tariffs or threatening he would, he said countries were begging to make deals with the United States. That hasn't seemed to be the case. Why?
I don't think it's the case because a lot of countries have realized that these tariffs kind of come and go, and they're not sure they're permanent, if they're indefinite, if they could be changed next week because of different world events or different countries that the president might be upset with or happy with. So I think that is a big factor. And the other is just that these tariffs are taxes on consumers and businesses in the United States, and I think some countries might just be waiting the president out.
Is China in that category, and is China really the big Megillah here?
So China, I think, is definitely in that category. I think the European Union is in that category. And Mexico and Canada as well. It's not clear that any real deal is going to be forthcoming with those countries either. The threats keep coming out of the administration to raise tariffs, on some of these countries here and there. And so that is most of United States trade, imports and exports. And it's taking them a long time to come to terms with those countries. And I think it'll keep getting pushed out.
GM and Stellantis car makers in the U.S. said they took big hits because of the tariffs. What do you make of those announcements?
Yeah, I mean, that worries me. I think it's a harbinger of things to come. So these are bigger car makers. They are suggesting they absorbed a lot of the costs themselves, and they can probably do that over the short term. There are a lot of other businesses in the United States that have probably run down their inventories, aren't able to get the parts and inputs that they need from other source countries, and they're going to have to start paying those tariffs, and they're either going to get passed along to consumers, they're going to get passed along in terms of wage cuts, and some of it might be in terms of their own profits. But eventually, as we head into fall, I think people are going to start to notice prices are higher. There are fewer varieties available at Target and Walmart and everywhere else. And we'll see some of this stuff start to bite.
We got about 15 seconds left. August 1 is a deadline for more tariffs. What should we think about that?
I think there will be some more tariffs on August 1st, but it's not clear to me if Donald Trump will follow through with exactly what he has said he will do. So we'll find out the day that happens, or maybe the day or two after, depending on how the markets react.
All right. Kyle Handley, thank you so much to the Cato Institute. Thank you.